Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, hello, my name is Skylar. I am a certified dog trainer and pet nutritionist. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my ultimate new dog checklist. This covers pretty much everything that you're going to need when you first bring home your new dog, whether it's a puppy, an older dog, or anywhere in between. For those of you who are wanting a more physical copy that you can actually take on shopping trips with you, I do have this list in a PDF format on my website, so I'll leave that linked down in the description below, so you can download and print it out and take it with you and check things off as you go. The very first thing that you're going to want to get for your new pup is a high quality pet food. Depending on what they were being fed before, sometimes it's already great, you're really comfortable with it, and you want to stick with that food. Other times your dog might have been fed something of maybe a lower quality, or maybe you just really like another brand more. And so switching is totally normal. When you're looking for a new food for your pup, you want to make sure that it's going to be low in filler ingredients, no unnamed meats. You want the company to have really clear sourcing, good company ethics, little to no recall history is a great one as well. So definitely do some research, look around at your options. This channel has a bunch of different resources that can help you kind of narrow down what you want to look for in a food. And if you're planning on feeding kibble, I highly recommend adding to that kibble. Kibble is made for our convenience, not the optimal health of the pet. So by adding meat and moisture, even just soaking the kibble in water, but even better, adding cooked meat or canned food or raw meat, whatever you want to add, just makes the kibble that much better. And again, I have plenty of resources on this channel that help you do that and learn a bit more. So I'm going to leave that playlist down in the description below for you. Next, you're going to want your food and water bowls. I highly recommend going with glass or stainless steel, as these are the easiest to clean and they're less likely to absorb and hold on to bacteria. I know the plastic and ceramic bowls are super cute, but they do harbor more bacteria than the glass or stainless steel. Plastic and ceramic are pretty porous, so it gives the bacteria more grooves to really dig into and makes it much harder to really clean them. I also recommend to clean your bowls daily, and if you are going with plastic or ceramic, to replace them at least every 3 months or so, just to make sure that things are staying clean. Next, you'll probably want a collar. I consider collars to be a fashion accessory. It's a great place to hang your dog's ID tags. I really recommend going with just a standard flat buckle collar. These usually come in nylon or leather. You don't want something that's going to loosen or tighten as your dog moves. You want it to be a pretty standard fit. You want it to fit nicely so you're able to fit 2 fingers in between the collar and their neck. Any more than that, it's going to be loose, fly all over, and cause chafing. Any tighter than that, it's just going to be too tight, uncomfortable. So just nice and standard. You can make it look super cute, but you don't need anything other than just your standard flat buckle collar. ID tags. So I highly recommend getting your pet microchipped if they're not already. That way, in case something were to happen, in case they were to get out without their tags, people would at least be able to pick up your dog, take them to a vet or a shelter, and they can scan for that microchip. But ID tags are super popular, and it's nice to have something that easily has your name and phone number on it without them having to take your dog to a shelter or vet to get that microchip information if they don't have to. For the ID tags, I recommend having your dog's name and 2 different phone numbers. One can be your cell phone, something you can easily be reached at, and the second one should be maybe a trusted friend or family member, where if you are unable to respond to the phone and go get your dog, they'd be willing and able to. That way, if one phone number doesn't work, if they can't get a hold of you, they at least have a backup. I personally don't recommend putting your address on your dog's tags. If you live in an area where you feel safe enough to do so, that's totally fine. Feel free. Not something that I personally recommend. I find that it doesn't really matter too much. And then there's always those weird hypotheticals of like, what if someone stole your dog and held it hostage and then robbed your house while you were getting it? Kind of like the razor blades in Halloween candy. I feel like that maybe happened once and now it's just perpetuated, but something to consider. My dogs don't have the address on their tags. That information can be on the microchip if someone brings them in and wants to go about it that way. Next, you're going to want to find a well-fitting harness for your dog regardless of age or size. I'm a huge harness fan. I'm definitely not a fan of walking your dog on a collar of any kind. I have a whole video about this topic that I'll leave linked below. But in short, studies have shown that collars of any kind provide enough pressure to cause damage to, the neck, the trachea, to the spinal column, all of those really important things that are happening in a dog's delicate neck. Walking on a collar does have enough pressure to do damage. I have a whole video about this topic, but in short, studies have shown that collars of any type provide enough pressure to the neck and trachea to cause damage. It's best to just avoid that completely. Go with a well-fitting body harness. Not only is a well-fitting harness safer for your dog, more comfortable for your dog, but if you know how to use them, they're great training tools without causing any pain or discomfort or using force in order to train, which I'm a big proponent of, keeping things positive and force-free. Again, I'll leave that video down below as well as some studies that you can look into as well. My personal favorite style of harness is a Y-front harness where you have full range of motion in the shoulders, and specifically one with a front clip. If you have not had success with harnesses in the past, or if you have a dog that could learn some leash manners, maybe pulls a bit, having a front clip harness is really, really great for helping to teach those leash manners. My two personal favorite brands of harness are Roughwear. They have a bunch of different style options. I personally tend to recommend the front range, but they have a Webmaster that has additional clips and adjustments for those dogs with more awkward body proportions that maybe don't fit into a standard harness. And then Blue 9 does a really good harness as well. Again, you want something with that Y-shaped front, so it goes right up across here, full range of motion in the shoulders. You want it to be fit snugly enough that you can fit 2 fingers all the way around, whether they're sitting or standing, and having that front clip as opposed to just the back clip adds a lot of versatility and makes training a little bit easier. If you'd like to learn more about harnesses and the benefits of using them, I'll leave some links down below as well to different videos of mine and to different scientific research papers. Next, you're going to want a standard 6-foot leash that clips directly onto your dog's harness or collar. I personally do not recommend retractable leashes to most people. There are a few situations, especially when we're working on off-leash skills, where if you're unable to get a long line, a retractable leash is okay. But overall, retractable leashes, not a fan. Not a fan. Especially when they're the thin one as opposed to the tape. It can cause a lot of injury to both you and your dogs and to others. It can also make training a bit more clunky and difficult because you're having to lock it and then you have this clunky handle as opposed to a 6-foot leash, which is just super streamlined and simple. I also recommend having a sturdy kennel, whether it's the plastic kind or the metal kind. It's totally up to you. You can use it to crate train your dog every night. You can use it just occasionally when you need to travel, but I do highly recommend at least having one on hand. In my area, we had a big fire breakout last year, and kennels were the #1 thing that people were looking for and desperately in need of as they were evacuating with their dogs. So I highly recommend, just for that reason only, having one on hand so that you can easily pick it up, put it together, and have a safe place to keep your dog in case of something like that happening near you. I also recommend crate training your dog. They don't have to be in there often. If you choose to not crate your dog while you're gone or at night, totally up to you. There's different options in order to keep them safe in those situations. However, when they go to the groomer, when they go to the vet, if you board them, they might be kenneled. So making sure that your dog is comfortable being kenneled and confident and comfortable, and it's not something that's going to cause undue stress. I highly recommend getting a kennel, working on some crate training, and having it in case of emergencies. Next, you're going to want a couple of dog beds. So for my dogs, I have a bunch of different dog beds kind of around the house that they can choose to lay in, hang out in throughout the day. For the beds around your house, there's expensive ones, there's inexpensive ones, there's ones with ortho foam for your bigger dogs or your older dogs to make them extra cushy. Lazy Boy has a dog line bed. You can find them in all shapes and colors and styles, and you can totally find things that are super comfortable for your pup that also match the decor of your house super easy. As far as the beds to go in the kennel, I personally recommend old blankets. You don't want something that's going to be too ripped or strings hanging out, something that could potentially cause a hazard, but some blankets that maybe you don't use anymore or blankets that your dogs have already claimed as their own make really great additions to the kennel. Blankets are much easier to clean in my experience than dog beds. You can just take them out, toss them in the wash, call it good, and they're especially great for maybe older dogs that don't have as much control of their bowels as they used to, or younger dogs that are still working on potty training. Being able to easily just swap it out, call it good, and not have to stress about scrubbing makes things a lot easier to deal with. So, a couple of beds and some old blankets hanging around. Next, you're gonna want a really good brush and comb. Now, the tools that you use to groom your dogs and the grooming requirement of your dog is really going to depend on their breed and coat type. But overall, for about 90% of dogs, having a nice, sturdy, metal, wide-toothed comb and a slicker brush are going to be your absolute best friends. I reached out to my groomer friends and asked them if you could pick only a handful of tools that pretty much any dog owner should have in their arsenal as far as daily maintenance. Those are the two that were told to me. And I have to agree, it makes total sense. There's a lot of dog brushes that look more like our hair brushes, and overall, those ones don't get the mats. They just kind of glide over them. They tingle a little bit more, and really getting in there with that wide tooth comb, getting all of the little snags out, all of the tangles, all of the mats really worked out with the comb, and then going back in, and that slicker brush is just gonna make things fluffy and smooth again. That's the winning combo. Again, depending on your dog, you might need to brush them every day, maybe once a week. The grooming requirements are going to differ a little bit, but for most dogs, brush and comb, that combo is perfect. You're gonna want an enzymatic cleaner. Nature's Miracle is probably my absolute favorite, and what's really nice about these enzymatic cleaners as opposed to a regular carpet cleaner is it actually goes in and attacks the bacteria that causes that smell. When a dog goes to the bathroom in the house and you clean it up with a traditional carpet cleaner, there's still a chance that that actual odor is still deep in there that the dogs can still smell, and it's this odor that encourages the dog to go there again. So they recognize they've been there before, that's their spot, and you might notice that there's parts of your carpet where they've gone to multiple times. So by getting an enzymatic carpet cleaner like Nature's Miracle, it really helps to attack that actual odor that's deep in there and helps stop your pet from going in the same place. Of course, this isn't a one-stop fix. There is a lot of training involved in potty training, so this is simply going to help keep your carpets a little fresher, help aid in a little bit of that, but the job's not completely done, I'm sorry. Next, you're gonna need poop bags. There's all sorts of different brands of poop bags. They come in really fancy, designer, printed style, colorful poop bags. You have the more like plain green or black poop bags. I personally use earth-rated poop bags. They're biodegradable. They also have compostable options. They have unscented and they have lavender scented. Those are the ones that I personally use most often. I like them pretty well. They also have both the rolls that you can put on the end of your leash, but then they also have ones that have handles. So when you have large dogs like I do, sometimes it's easier to get the ones with the handles. They're a little bit easier to tie off. You're gonna want a variety of toys. I recommend getting some balls, some plush toys, definitely some enrichment toys like treat balls or Kongs, ropes. You want to be careful with if you notice your dog really tearing into it or trying to chew or ingest the strings. I do not recommend going with ropes. If your dog is pretty good about ropes, they don't try to ingest the strings. It's a nice, fun, supervised toy that you can play with together. Another really important thing about toys is they're kind of made to be destroyed. Sure, some toys are tougher than others and last a little bit longer, but for the dogs, half the fun is destroying that toy, and we just need to kind of accept that as a part of the life cycle of our dog toys. And I think that by kind of embracing that and being aware of that and knowing they're gonna have a ton of fun makes that a little bit easier. So a nice variation of toys, figure out what your dog likes. I always recommend supervising them with toys just in case and keeping a nice rotation. So maybe only have 4 or 5 toys out and accessible, then those toys can take a break and then new toys come out for the week. And by doing this, it keeps things fun and interesting for the dog. They think they're getting new toys. You can also do toy swaps with trusted friends and family members where you can swap their dog's toys with your dog. All of a sudden they get new toys and they get to smell their friends, which is just additional enrichment. You're also going to want a variety of treats. I recommend having a couple things that they can chew on. Again, I recommend not giving your dog anything they can chew on while they're unsupervised, just in case. It's a little safety thing. But having some chew toys, some training treats, some you're so cute treats that you can just give them when they're just being adorable. You want to give them a little something. All those kinds of things are excellent. Just like with the pet food, I recommend looking into the ingredients, trying to buy treats with a little bit better ingredients, no unnamed meats, and from maybe brands that have better sourcing, better ingredients, better company ethics overall is my personal preferred way to go. You're also going to want some first aid supplies. You don't need to get a full, entire, super inclusive first aid kit, but I do recommend having some antimicrobial spray, some gauze, and some vet wrap on hand just in case. With these 3 things, you can more or less treat things as they happen, and then that gives you time to either go to the vet if you need to, or go out and get something more specific for whatever your pet needs. But definitely I recommend having an antimicrobial spray to help keep things nice and clean, and then some gauze and vet wrap in case you do need to stabilize something or close up a wound while you get them to the vet. Next, we just have some additional items that maybe you might be interested in picking up, or things that I really recommend, or things that you might not need right away, but I really recommend getting within the first month or so of getting your new dog. Very first up on this portion of the list, we have a shampoo and conditioner. This is totally up to you if you are going to bathe your dogs often. If you choose to bathe them in home as opposed to somewhere else, you're going to want some shampoo and conditioner on hand. A lot of pet stores now, at least where I live, do offer a self-wash, which is what I tend to choose to do, where you can take your dogs in. They usually have shampoo and towels and stuff there themselves. You can bathe your dog there. So much easier than trying to get them into your bathtub. So that's what I personally choose to do. You also might take your dog to the groomer regularly, in which case you don't really need to be bathing them at home yourself. But if that's something that you choose to do, having some shampoo and conditioner on hand, specific for your dogs, so you're not having to use people shampoo and conditioner, which is not nearly as good for them, is gonna be the way to go. Next, we have nail clippers. If you've never clipped your dog's nails before, I highly, highly, highly recommend reaching out to a local groomer or a vet tech or someone who's done it time and time again and can show you the correct way to do it. If you go in there not really knowing what you're doing and hit the quick, especially hit the quick multiple times, you have the potential of creating a very less than satisfactory experience for your dog, and we want to try to avoid that. We want nail trimming to be as successful and positive as possible, since it's already inherently not the greatest thing for most dogs. But if you have clipped your dog's nails before, if you know how to do it, if you're very confident in it, grabbing some nail clippers, and regardless, I always recommend getting septic powder. That way, in case you were to hit the quick, in case there were to be a little bit of blood, you can dab that on, take care of it real quick, and make it, again, as smooth and painless as possible. Next, you might want a toothbrush and toothpaste for your dog. I know it seems a little bit silly that your dog has their own toothbrush and toothpaste, and a lot of people just don't see themselves ever using them. However, I highly recommend, even if you're only able to do it a couple times a week, to get in there, get them used to using a toothbrush, taking it super, super slow in the beginning, because it does help to prevent dental disease in the future. Adding brushing your dog's teeth into your routine of all of your different ways to help get rid of plaque and tartar buildup is going to be really, really great, especially as your dog gets older, because we want to protect their teeth. We would love for them to have as many teeth as possible in their old age. And dental disease is one of those things that's becoming more and more prominent in our pets, and so we want to nip that right in the bud and do all that we can to help prevent it from progressing. Next, if you have a dog, you'll probably want to have some baby gates on hand. Whether or not you have kids, baby gates are great to have around. They're a great management tool. You're able to use these baby gates to help prevent your dog from practicing unwanted behaviors while you work to train more appropriate behaviors instead. You can also use it as a safety tool if your dog does have more free range of the house, but maybe there's certain areas that are just unsafe for your dog to be in without you being there to supervise them. Makes a great way to block off those areas. It's also excellent if you have friends or family come over and you just need a space where people can go to get away from the dogs. Maybe there's some extra food falling on the floor because you have guests over and you just want to prevent your dogs from vacuuming that all up for you. So having baby gates come in amazing handy. We have baby gates all over our house to help block off different areas when we have guests over, or to help keep some safe separation between the dogs and the birds. I truly can't recommend having a baby gate or two stashed away enough. Last but not least, I recommend getting dog car seat covers and dog seat belts. Car safety for dogs is often something that's really overlooked, but with so many of us traveling with our dogs, we want to make sure that we're keeping them safe and we're keeping our families safe as well. You've seen enough PSAs at this point about wearing your seatbelt and making sure that your friends and family are wearing their seatbelt, but what about your dogs? In case of an accident, you wear your seatbelt so that you don't go flying around the car, injuring yourself and others. Is your dog wearing a seatbelt? Because they can also go flying around the car and injure themselves and others, and that's something that we absolutely do not want at all. Even something just as simple as slamming on your brakes a little bit too hard, your dog can go flying into the dash or into the seat in front of them, and it can cause a lot of damage overall. So the best way to avoid this is to use seatbelt tethers. Plenty of brands are making them now. I think the ones that I have are from the brand Kurgo. They attach super easy to the back of the harness. You can clip them directly into your seatbelt buckle, or you can loop it through your seatbelt and buckle them back in that way. This keeps your dog a whole lot safer. Not only can they not climb into the driver's seat with you whenever they want, but in case of a hard stop or an accident, they're not going to go flying across the car. Keeps them much safer. Additionally, those seat covers come in handy with me. Again, I have them from the brand Kurgo. I take my dogs everywhere. We go to the lake pretty often. We go play in the mud in the woods pretty often. And having them not ruin my leather seats, excellent. Couldn't recommend getting a seat cover more. Especially the ones designed for dogs. They tend to be a little bit more of a thicker canvas, a little bit more resistant than a lot of the seat covers I've seen just for cars in general. So that is my ultimate new dog checklist. If you're wanting a physical copy that you can take shopping with you, again, I'll leave that down in the description below so that you can download it, print it out, and check it all off. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. We do a lot of nutrition, behavior, and training videos here, so it's overall a really great learning opportunity for you as you go through life with your new dog. Congratulations, by the way. Feel free to comment below anything you might have missed, or if you yourself are getting a new dog, feel free to shout it out down below. Congratulations on adding a new member to your household. I will see you guys all next time, and until then, bye!